Hi, I'm Sayce Holmes-Lewis. I'm here as part of We Are Social's Black Perspective series. I grew up on the Aylesbury estate in South East London. Very proud to come from the housing estate. I've been working with young people now in and around the Aylesbury estate for the last 27 years in different guises, in football, within education, but also through my organisation Mentivity. And I'm really, really proud to support young people in and around the Aylesbury estate because they don't routinely experience success, and mentorship was a massive part of my journey. How have your experiences influenced your perspective on race, justice and the structural inequalities Black communities face today? So I would say that the issues that I face in terms of race and injustice, should I say, stemmed from policing. It was something that I was warned about in my formative years by my grandparents and my parents, but I wasn't actually prepared for it. In terms of dealing with racism, it wasn't something that I could control. It was something that happened to me rather than something I could find a solution to. And there's always an onus on those that are victims to find solutions. So on match days on the Aylesbury estate, many people would come through the estate, and there was a torrent of racial abuse directed to people like myself who would be on the estate playing football. And these were grown, adult white men. Just literally, it was very, very difficult. But for me, policing was also a major, major issue in stop and search and the way that police policed us in our communities. At the age of 14, I actually was assaulted by a police officer. And he basically pulled me off the train, told me to get off the train, pulled me off the train, and then began to assault me without any warning. And it was a very traumatic experience, but it was something which really kick-started my outlook towards injustice in communities and how we can counteract it. For me, it's really about standing up for those that do experience racism and injustice, and being on the London Policing Board now as advisor to the Mayor around policing and holding the Met Police to account. That's my way of really finding my voice and the voice of other people within communities. And through my work with Mentivity, it's really about challenging the stereotypical view of many young Black boys and girls within education and other marginalised groups, but supporting them through this education system. But also, my first mentor, Abdul Ben Kamal, he founded a team called Bethwyn Football Club, and I came across him at the age of 14, and he totally changed my life, using the game of football and mentorship to really educate me around finding solutions to things like racism, and pathways were often closed in education and in football. So he was a massive inspiration behind what I'm doing today, and also standing up for those that don't have a voice or don't have the courage to speak up. So I use my voice, and that's what's important, to speak up for communities, but also do the work behind the scenes. What is Mentivity? So Mentivity is a mentoring organisation that goes primarily to schools across 5 London boroughs: Southwark, Lambeth, Lewisham, Bromley and Croydon. It's early intervention mentoring, so getting young people into our sessions at the earliest opportunity to help raise their aspirations, to understand their role within society and communities, but also what they're passionate about, and using that passion to navigate their career and life trajectories. That is the most important thing. My mentor, Abdul Ben Kamal, and other mentors were instrumental in enlarging my view and experiences of the world, and they dared me to dream. My mentors, but also my mum, has been a major, major inspiration for me to really create a service for young people that was for young people. And far too often we make decisions about young people and they're not in the room. And that's what Mentivity seeks to do: involve them in the process and allow them to grow and get closer to their dreams. Because without dreams, we don't have hope. And without hope, what are we as human beings without hope? So Mentivity tries to instill hope and really allow people to experience success in communities that they don't normally experience success. By utilising their passions, they can use those transferable qualities and skills and use it in different areas to progress. What do you believe are the biggest barriers for young people today? I'll be honest, the world's changing, especially since COVID. Young people are in a more digital world, and also a lot of them don't have the skills to navigate that. So I feel that young people's progress routes into their passions are more and more difficult because they're not getting the advice that they need at school. So I feel that for young people now, experiencing that success and having those progress routes linked to their passions and their career wants can make it very, very difficult. But I feel that now we need to educate these young people to actually progress towards their passions, and also to become more resilient by embracing failure. And failure is a way to grow and be outside your comfort zone. So I feel that's the biggest barrier for young people today. What advice would you give to people who want to challenge injustice but feel powerless? It's a very, very powerful question, because this is something that I experienced routinely in my life. I did feel powerless in a number of situations within the realms of education, playing football at semi-pro and professional level, and also representing one of my countries, Barbados. I'm from Barbados and Jamaica, so I was lucky enough to represent Barbados internationally at football. But within education, it was very, very difficult, because you were challenging the stereotypical view of many teachers who often didn't understand what it was like to grow up as a young black man in the midst of racism, in the midst of a lack of opportunity. You know, growing up on the council estate, as I said, it was overly positive, but it was challenging. It was really challenging. And, you know, my mother, she's amazing. She raised 7 children pretty much single-handedly. And to watch her go through those challenges every single day, but turn up with a smile and just be able to give the love that all of her 7 children needed, was really inspirational. And I come from a family of educators, so naturally I've gone into that and educated people through mentorship and through my work. So I feel that we have to educate ourselves to be able to challenge injustices, whether it's around racial inequalities, systemic inequalities, structural inequalities. We have to educate yourself. But I feel that by educating myself, I've got to a more empathetic standpoint in terms of understanding the drivers for racism and how ignorance provides a platform for many people. If we look at institutions, we're saying we want to kick it out of the racism out of football or kick it out of the Met. We have to kick it out of society first. So how do we educate our young people? And I think even further than that, we have to have an anti-discriminatory approach and challenge all forms of discrimination, because someone that is from a non-ethnic background wouldn't necessarily understand racism. So, but they do understand oppression. So for women, for example, misogyny, they would understand that, and they understand how that feels. So I think that by having an anti-discriminatory approach, we can now understand and be more empathetic to what that actually is. And that's what I do in terms of my work in training the Met Police and the City of London Police Forces. It's educating them around my journey, but also how we can actually counteract racism through anti-racist approaches, through anti-discrimination. And that's the real power of that work. And I've been doing that for the last 5 years. So how did I get started? Well, I got started in 1999, working with young people. And as I said, I realized that I had something which I could offer to other young people. I'm the eldest of 7 children, so there's a lot of pressure on my shoulders to always get things right and be that role model. And I found myself doing that naturally within the community. So utilizing football, the vehicle football, that was my main way of trying to reach other young people and support them on their journey. And it just led me towards education. I became a teaching assistant, supported young people at a number of schools, a pupil referral unit, then became a fully qualified coach for Southwark Council. Through my work at Mentivity, I've got a lot of investment from banks such as Goldman Sachs, other organizations like Spotify, and really getting them to get behind our work. And that investment allows us to provide this offer for young people, a wraparound, holistic offer where they can actually raise their aspirations and think about careers that they may not be informed about at schools. And we're trying to create a legacy of change, a legacy of educating yourself and being a student of life. And I feel that's really, really important. To get them behind these young people is key, because they see that time invested in them as love. And that's what we're trying to do. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced? In a nutshell, 2024 is one of the most challenging years of my life, both personally and professionally. One of the biggest things about me is my determination and my resilience, which has been built up through my experiences on the Aylesbury estate and life in general. I've taken some really massive knockbacks in terms of professional football, and for Mentivity was a challenging year because financially things are very difficult across the board, and that's no different for us as an organisation. We had a number of people leave the organisation to seek pastures new, which is fine. We want people to grow, but that leaves us with a challenge of recruiting more people, but also just keeping Mentivity going. We're a small organisation based in South East London, out of the Aylesbury estate, that works across 5 London boroughs. However, we don't get the support that we need from local authorities, from central government, and as a black-led organisation, it's very, very difficult to access some of the funding that unfortunately other white-led organisations access. So for me, it's basically getting Mentivity to 2025 with renewed optimism. We've got really, really good options now in terms of financial options. We've just migrated to a charity, which is really, really exciting. Last year was challenging, accessing the funding for Mentivity, keeping Mentivity afloat, keeping the doors open, keeping the lights on at Mentivity House was a challenge, but it's a real labour of love, and I wouldn't have it any other way, if I'm totally honest. How do you stay resilient and continue pushing forward despite setbacks and challenging times? I would say that I've learned a lot around resilience from my mum. She's my inspiration, in terms of what she's done, raising us, also becoming a teacher. She qualified nearly 20 years ago now, and despite having 7 children, which many people wouldn't have thought she could have done. And I've seen her just show up with just a warm heart and just nothing but love. So I've taken that on board. That resilience I definitely get from my mum, and I know that hardship is temporary, and with hardship comes ease. And that's something which is very prominent in my faith. I became Muslim nearly 2 years ago, and that's really, really helped me in terms of my prayers. We pray 5 times a day. There's 5 opportunities to reset and to have a renewed outlook on life. So that's been really, really important. But without a grounding, you can't build, and you need that foundation. And therapy has also helped me, because a lot of things that I've experienced across my formative years within society has often tried to hold me back. But therapy is really doing a deep dive into who you actually are and looking into the mirror. That's how I keep pushing forward, my faith, therapy, and looking at my mum as inspiration every single day. What is next in store for you? Everything. There's so much that I want to do to grow Mentivity in a way that is sustainable, but also can impact and support initiatives in communities across the UK. I feel that we've learned a lot over the last 9 years, and there's a lot that we can bring to communities to bring people together. I was executive producer on 2 documentaries, one with Spotify and one with another charity called Young Minds. It just gave me a real taste for it, and I'm really, really passionate about sharing stories of those that are unheard and those unsung heroes in communities across the world. I definitely want to travel the world making documentaries and being an advocate for Mentivity in our work globally. If you could have one wish come true, what would it be? To stay young. Global unity is something for me which is massively important. I attend Lucian Mosque, and it's a very diverse mosque. You've got people from different backgrounds coming together for a common cause. I feel that communities across the world are being displaced and being destroyed, and the true essence of community is being lost. So I definitely want to bring that back. If I had the opportunity, if one wish could come true, would be to bring global unity. And I'm a long-suffering Arsenal fan, so 21 years we haven't won the league. So if we could win the league, that would be great. So global unity and Arsenal to finally win the league again.